Yeah.
So I'm going to touch a little bit on the concept of overtraining.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, there's all different schools of thought on overtraining. And I do think that people, and I'm pretty sure you'll agree with me, have to consider all the various stresses in their lives, not just their workouts, because you might have a physical job or they might have a mentally stressful job. They could be having issues in their personal life. Their sleep might be compromised. But I do think that sometimes in the HIT community, we've overly um, we've gotten a little too anal about it. It's like, oh my God, you did an extra set, you've overtrained, it's not going to work. And I think
Mm-hmm.
overtraining is something that happens over a fairly long period of time, right? If you train, like one time I did an experiment in the Body by Science book, and I love Doug McGuff, and I know at the time when he wrote that book, he was heavily influenced by Ken Hutchins. But he made the point that if you did leg presses and you went to failure, the next day, if you went back and did leg presses away, you wouldn't be recovered, so you wouldn't be able to do as much. Well, I did leg presses for 20 days in a row, and I added a little more weight every time.
Okay.
So, and now I gain muscle? I don't think I gained any muscle, but I kept adding a little more weight every time. But I do know that if I had continued that for whatever length of time, I would have eventually overtrained for sure. I was probably getting there type of thing. But I don't think it's as simple as, you know what I mean? Like one day you did it, so the next day you're going to be weaker type of thing. I just don't think we're that fragile as a whatnot. But one thing I do notice is that when my clients miss a workout or two, or recently I went on a holiday and I was away and they all missed 2 weeks. Virtually all of them came back and had great workouts, their first workout back. And I didn't reduce the weights or anything like that. So all this is leading up to an actual question, which is, do you schedule specific layoffs during the year where you'll take time off, or do you just happen to let that happen spontaneously because life happens and you go on a holiday or whatever it is? Or what's your thought about, say, remember the Darden books would often say you'd have a program would last 6 or 12 weeks, and then he would say, now take 10 days off
Mm-hmm.
and then do it again. So what's your feeling on periodic complete layoffs from training?
Well, periodization. That's how it's called, right? Yeah. Training for a certain periods. I think that's a little bit based, and when you know the program of the last program of Ellington Darden is 30-10-30. That's how many? Three times per week, full body, something like this. So that's on the verge of overtraining. So then
Right.
I can imagine that after 6 weeks, he says, "Oh, take some time off," because you go towards overtraining. It's just there's a problem with the high intensity training community that somehow you're not allowed to like training. You're not allowed to like the torture. You
Right.
have to hate it. And because you hate it, you only should go once a week.
Right.
And so for myself, I try to balance the things out because I like to train. I like the torture. So with my last program, I still have to post one video and this 4 videos. And I did this program for, I could do this for about 6 to 8 weeks. And then I had to cut back. I did 3 workouts per week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And after 6 weeks, I started to notice this is not going to be right. But because I like to train, I go to that certain point and then I have to back off. I start to hurt a little, I start to feel a little bit of pains that should not be there. That's because I like to train. But I understand this high intensity guys, like with Mike Menzer also, he tried to bring it in a certain way that if you take enough rest, you still have enough compensation and enough stimulation to grow and not overtrain. So you can do this year in, year out. And as soon as you get stronger, take a little bit more rest. But after a while, it takes a little bit the fun away.
Right.
So there's a little bit of yeah, duality, a little bit of that's. There's one group that says, oh, you should not train that many times because you're going to overtrain. But then again, then you train maybe only once a week or 3 times per 2 weeks. And okay, you're not going to overtrain and you get your results. But there's enough people that like to train. I'm
Right.
going to miss. So I try to find the balance because every workout is full. It's full out. It's not as soon as I feel I don't feel like it, I don't go. So it's not going to do I'm not going to do a half workout. I had in the past, then I go to the gym, half hour in the car, and halfway the first exercise, and it's not going to work. So I go home.